So IPO is definitely on the cards. We need to be a certain size and scale to get the IPO. I think we're a lot focused on the path to IPO at the moment. If you go into a legacy brand and ask them, how come such an innovative product, they will develop a separate team for the product that literally works like a startup. We've built from zero to where we are, and we've just done it in 5 years. And there's still a lot of joy and a lot of satisfaction in what we're trying to build.
After decades inside large advertising networks like Ogilvy, DDP, and Publicis, Vandana Verma co-founded Wondrlab with Saurabh Verma and Rakesh Hinduja in 2020 and left one thing behind: fear. What began as a platform-first bet is now a 250-client business spanning Wiser, Opportune, Hector, Symmetrics, and Big Step. From dropping an E in its name to rewriting how Indian agencies scale globally, this is a story of building technology-led ambition from India for the world.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of The Agency Architect. And today I have with me Vandana Verma, who is the co-founder of a very interesting agency called Wondrlab, and it's spelled without an E in it. So from what I understand, the three of you, Saurabh, Rakesh and yourself, you started Wondrlab without the E in 2020 as a platform-first thesis, right? In the course of the past 5 years, which are some of the platform-led stacks that you've created maybe from ground up that have given your customers a measurable edge, not just a competitive edge?
So when we put Wondrlab together, our ambition really was to solve brand problems using a technology lens. And we were very clear that we would want to set up a MarTech firm and not a true blue agency. And we were sure that if we would develop or acquire products, we could kind of layer them with managed services in a manner where brands have the full funnel. So depending on the scale and the size of the brand that interacted with us, they were somewhere in this funnel of, awareness, consideration, conversion, and in some cases, loyalty and lifetime value of a customer. At Wondrlab, one of the platforms that we created in our initial days was a marketing to kids platform called Wiser, which is actually doing excellent these days because it has zero competition. We also acquired a performance marketing managed service called Neon, and within it built an e-com platform for e-com media, primarily Amazon first, called Hector. Which is something we built in-house. Today, Hector operates around India, US, and Canada, and is a subscription model for any brand that wants to win on Amazon, Flipkart, or any of the new upcoming e-com platforms. We also acquired Opportune, and when we acquired Opportune, influencer marketing wasn't booming the way it is. When we acquired Opportune, it was a base level platform that would do barters. What we've really done with Opportune in-house is built so many data layers on it that actually it's now become a SaaS platform for influencers. So these three we built in-house. Along our journey, we also acquired tech companies. All our platforms now are taken care of, run, maintained, and feature developed by Symmetrics and Big Step, which are our in-house tech companies. A lot of these platforms were blueprinted by us as a team. And then, we got into UI, UX designs and started coding them. So the first year and a half of our existence, we might have started primarily with managed service. But very early in the day, we started building, and today the funnel is completely the opposite of how we started.
What is your client base looking at right now? And the reason I'm asking this question is I wanted to understand how many of these clients you've managed to grow organically vis-a-vis the ones that you have inherited due to your acquisitions?
So, to give you a conservative number, today we have 250 clients across the group. I would say primarily everything is organically grown because one of the outstanding things we do at Wondrlab is cross sell. So we may have acquired a client through an acquisition, but today that client is buying three other services from us. Because clients have started to realize how, if you are working with an agency seamlessly across the funnel, what is the benefit in terms of creative assets and universality of the narrative. Actually, our acquisitions were not particularly client based. Our acquisitions were more around the space of where in the funnel does this company fit in? Because we exist to solve brand problems. It's just that when we set this up, we decided not to solve it through managed services and solve it through tech first thinking and platform first thinking. So typically everything is organically grown.
I'm sure there is a lot of blueprinting, like you said, that you also look at from the financial perspective, right? So I wanted to understand, how do you do that blueprinting for any new organization that you might consider acquiring, especially from the funding structure, the break-even timelines, even with the cross-selling that might be there, or managing the scale, with a multi-market roll-up?
So I'll break that question into two parts. Why do our platforms do well outside is because, we are set to create a India network. When we acquire outside of the country, we obviously look at markets where the value that India brings in terms of data, thinking, and white labeling the tech stacks of these platforms, how can we monetize it outside? So one part of the story is, why am I acquiring outside? It's part of the funnel, but it's also what are the markets that are ready for the platforms that we have built and we own, and how we can take those platforms, crawl local data, and make them valid for those markets. Why? Because brands in those markets don't have those solutions, right? So that's one part of it. The second part of an acquisition is, you know, uh, our record over the last 5 years has been, any acquisition that we've done, in year one, we have between a year and a half, we've grown at 10x. And the reason we managed to grow at 10x is because we have this beautiful ability to cross sell. A lot of the acquisitions we've done, founders have been more the DNA of a tech geek. But what those founders haven't had the ability to do is take it to brands, because brands are the ones who have the money. So all our founders are still working with us for any of the acquisitions. I think record time 10x growth on each platform, which the founder may not have been able to do when they decided to build the platforms that they decided to build. So out of the 250 brands, maybe 200 are D2C brands, 50 are legacy brands. But I just want to also highlight that legacy brands don't think legacy in legacy ways anymore. They don't think in traditional ways anymore.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, they got to keep pace with the customer expectations
Like
also.
literally, if you go into a legacy brand and ask them, how come such an innovative product, they will develop a separate team for the product that literally works like a startup, within that organization. So for us, yeah, it's a mixed bag, because we truly believe that today brands don't want to bifurcate the business. They want to work across the funnel depending on where their brand stands and what their needs are.
So I believe that the whole game plan was to acquire 26, at least that's a number I have been told, 26 in a three-phased manner. And I would presume that the first phase has completed,
Yeah.
and you have six acquisitions.
Up to 8, yeah.
Up to 8 now under your belt. So when you're looking at the next level, next two phases, which are some of the white spots, or the white spaces that you have identified, like you said, which can again up your cross-selling offering to your clients, and fits in seamlessly across the entire funnel?
From a point of view of relevance, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, over the last 3 years, platformization has become hygiene. Data has become hygiene. So for every platform may be, may need an additional feature or an additional leg to it, which is future facing. So, for example, for our e-com platforms, everybody said, okay, we're ahead of the time. We're giving you a granular dashboard of any media spend that you do on any e-com platform. And, hey, yeah, we'll give you a live API on this. You can actually change your mind every half an hour if you want to on where you want to plug your money. But the reality of that 3 years hence is that now a lot of people have that. So we will need a future facing ready leg to the platform, which handles maybe another need gap of a brand. So suppose you would like a AI chatbot to run half your functions for e-commerce granularization or media spend. How can we build that? Is there a company that exists, for example, that already has built the bot, and we can train the bot and make it relevant for our platform? That would be an acquisition we're interested in. So what we've really tried to do is create spaces like this across different parts of the funnel, which make our organization very future ready.
I wanted to understand, in the course of this 5 years that you have, that Wondrlab has been around, what are some of the learnings from these acquisitions, which might help you when you're planning the next acquisition?
So you're so right. Founders are very passionate because they've built what they've built and they've run it without us for a certain window. They know exactly how to build the product. They know the product in and out. I think where they see value in us is the fact that we can make their product relevant to multi categories. The skinning, the relevance of a BFSI brand using their product versus an FMCG brand using their product versus a fitness brand using their product. Did they ever think of the versatility and the dimensionalization of their product across relevance in multi categories? No, because they don't come from brand worlds. So I think what we as founders at Wondrlab possess in terms of brand understanding, consumer understanding, something that we've learned through our managed service for a long part of our life, really complements what technology they bring. Um, One of the reasons why most of the founders are still with us is because they find this exchange very, very valuable.
But besides the value, there must be a bit of friction also, because again, when founders start their company,
See,
they
we've
have a certain vision.
Correct, but we've kind of let them independently. They continue to run what they run best. We've never interfered and said, okay, hey, now that you're part of Wondrlab, don't do this because you've been doing this for the last 5 years. Now don't do it. It's never, I think what's worked really well is the fact that we've given them the independence to run what they have brought into our portfolio.
So you mentioned about the 10x growth, right? And I believe Wondrlab has posted triple digit growth for 2 consecutive years. It was 200% in FY24 and 185% in FY25. It could also be it because we're starting with a smaller base. Do you think you'll be able to sustain this kind of growth now that Wondrlab is in its fifth year, and also it is scaling its presence across the world?
I would say so because we're adding many other functions to our portfolio. One thing that we do beautifully is cross sell. Cross sell gets value for the brand, value for us as an organization, value for the acquisition we did. Because our cross sell is very deeply integrated. When we cross sell, we actually create integrated dashboards. So you have three functions, but you can see it in a single view. I don't think very many companies have the ability to do this in India, and I feel that through the acquisitions and our organic cross sell methodology, we are heading to a scenario where a brand will be engaged with us in a minimum of 6 services, which is huge for us. uh, and that sort of stickiness with the brand and with the teams. I don't see our growth plan as something that would slow down, because as I said to you, we've just finished phase one of our acquisition model. We're very heavy on the funnel story, and we're very big with the cross sell. And if we are successfully able to launch all our platforms outside of the country, we also know we can charge more outside of the country. They are evolved markets, and we're taking superior technology to them. So I don't see that as a problem at all moving forward.
But with this ambitious target that you have, do you think an IPO is in the offing? Because it would really help you scale a lot faster in your second phase and the third phase of acquisitions. And if you are planning to go the IPO way, what are some of the valuation guidelines that will drive it?
So IPO is definitely on the cards. We need to be a certain size and scale to get to the IPO. I think we're a lot focused on the path to IPO at the moment, where we get a certain size and scale so that we can truly do a full-blown IPO. And there's a lot of work on in that space at every end.
So, what is the
And
size and scale that you're, benchmarking yourself at?
I would, actually, offline that changes every day. But I would say a minimum of 100 crore EBITDA for the size and scale that we feel would be appropriate for an IPO.
One can see the passion that you have and the journey that you have traversed, right? From being on the other side of the table and now as a founder. So, if I were to ask you to leave our audience with three standout things, highlights, as a founder, as a startup founder, if I may call you that, in the past 5 years, what would those be?
So for me, as a startup, innovation has been in our blood. I think that it's very, very critical because market dynamics change, and we ourselves as consumers, agility being the second. I would say to build a network with the size and scale that we have burst into in 5 years and still be agile. Agile for brand solutions, agile for employees, just agility in our DNA has been a big advantage. And to be scale and agile is not something that a network company teaches you, which is where we're all from. And lastly, rebuild. The story of rebuilding just doesn't end.
So
And a
those would be,
non-stop process.
spoken like a true founder. You're talking like a person, who's thinking company first. But on a personal level, there was a lot of risk taking to start your own organization. There are moments when self doubt also starts creeping in. You sometimes wonder whether you are on the right path. Have there been something that really stood out for you in this 5 years? It could be highs, it could be lows, it could be just middling patterns.
So my background is that I've had 3 jobs before Wondrlab, and it's always been with a network. So I started my career with Ogilvy, moved into DDB, landed at Publicis, and today we have Wondrlab, right? Always built the same thing for somebody else. So frankly, there was no self-doubt, because when 3 times over for 3 different sets of international networks, you have been core to a team that has built those networks in the country, there's no reason for us not to be able to build that value and that ecosystem for ourselves. So I don't think self-doubt really came in, because after, as I said, 3 stints in 3 large networks, where we were core to building what that network standing was in the country, we were very sure that we'd be able to build this value for ourselves. Um, you know, I think one thing, there's a lot of joy in what we do, a lot of joy. And frankly, it's impossible to do this if there isn't any joy. So if it is paining you, I would recommend drop it, because you won't be able to do the journey. So there's a lot of joy in what we do. And for me, one of my biggest takebacks has been the fact that, we built this from scratch. as I was just explaining to you before this interview, I would go into GoDaddy to register a name, right? We all came from networks which were more like a little bit plug and play in terms of the ecosystem in the environment. For me, the most joyful part of our journey has been that we've built from zero to where we are. And we've just done it in 5 years. And there's still a lot of joy and a lot of, satisfaction in what we're trying to build. And, at a personal front, for me to, being on the other side of age, having done this is remarkable. I think it's made me a stronger person in many ways. You know, to give you a personal trait, actually, the sense of fear has just disappeared from my life. I don't fear no nothing, because we have been in this journey for 5 years to solve every day. So when you're solving every day and you're breaking down problems every day, there's no room for fear. So, at a personal level, one of my biggest takeaways from this journey at Wondrlab has been the fact that I don't feel fear, which I think is just fab for myself. So, yeah, it's just, and no regrets on doing what I've done, and what we've actually done as a team. And it's just been a fabulous journey for us as an organization, and even at a personal front, because I think, with the passion that founders have, and you're spending so much time doing what you're doing, you become what you do, right? And then that separation of, personally I'm like this, but at work I'm like this, that line completely dissolves. So I think all three of us really enjoy the person that we become doing this, because this was our first stint, right, on trying to set something up. So it's been a very joyful journey, and for me it's super productive, and extremely satisfying to know that as a team, the three of us have built what we built.
Well, sounds like you guys have had a exciting journey and years. Looking forward to many more years of that. And since you're fearless now, let's wait for the next characteristic that will also evolve during the course of these years. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to Campaign India, Vandana. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.